everyone, welcome to Cancer Healing Journey Talks. Myself Shruti Dapke from Community Outreach Team of Zenonco.io and Love Heals Cancer. Cancer Healing Journey Talks helps cancer survivors and caregivers to share their journey with vast number of survivors and caregivers who have traveled or been traveling through this journey. This can inspire them and motivate them for their faster recovery as well. Firstly, I would like to introduce today's speaker, Ms. Meera. She is a breast cancer survivor. I'm happy that you're here with us today to share your journey with us. Over to you, ma'am. Please share your journey and start with your introduction.
Thank you, Shruti. I'm Meera Raj. I'm 72 years old, and I had my tryst with breast cancer in the year 2009. And I don't think anybody is ever prepared to hear a diagnosis of cancer, whoever it might be, even maybe doctors, because, you know, that is the general fear that most people have. So, but I was on my own because my son lives abroad and my husband was away those days, and he's, you know, I'm on my own now. So when I went for the test, actually, that was a routine examination. And I just felt there was a hardness in my breast. That's about it all. There was no lump to start with. So I thought I better go to a gynec, and my usual gynec. And she said, yeah, it's only a hardness, but let's not leave it at that. We'll do all the tests. So I didn't think anything. I went straight to the lab, did my test, very confident that, you know, it will not be cancer. I didn't even think of it. So the next day I had to collect the report after all the tests. And when I went to collect also, I was so confident I didn't take anybody with me. So I went on my own, and when I saw the result, really that was so shocking. I was just coming down the stairs and I just sat on the steps. I just couldn't believe it. And for a few minutes, I really, you know, was very emotional and I didn't know what to do. Fortunately for me, I had a very close friend who lived close by, who was a clinical psychologist. So I went straight to her house and I spoke with her, and you know, she spoke to me for a long time. And she made me see, at least she calmed me down for the present. So that was how it all started. I think for everyone, it is like that, more or less. And it takes a long time for us to sink in the feeling, sink in the news that, you know, we have got cancer. Because that's not what, and especially if you have no lump, nothing, because blood cancer, so many cancers don't have any external indications, right? So it is very difficult to accept, you know, something like that. And it's very shocking and very painful and everything at the same time. And the initial feelings for everyone is the same, I think. And it's just that after a few hours or a day or so, you have an innumerable number of questions, and which no doctor can, you know, answer for individually, mainly because they have so many patients and you can't keep on going and asking them. And that is a lacunae I didn't feel, because I had a cousin, husband's cousin, my late husband's cousin, who also recovered from cancer. Initially, she was told that she will only have 3 weeks to live, and she lived for 6.5 years after that.
Wow.
So, yeah, can you believe it? And
no.
She was very beautiful. And she was very beautiful, very positive, very... So she said, come on, breast cancer is nothing. And because she had ovarian, and it was quite advanced stage. That's why the doctor told her she had only 3 weeks. So, and she said, you first go settle all your affairs and come back. That's what the doctor told her. So she told me this, and she said, yours is breast cancer and you say it is early stage, not to worry at all. And she put in all
which stage it was?
Was a second stage.
Okay.
First and second stage are usually considered curable.
Yeah.
You know, most cancers. And first definitely, and second also, depends again, each one is an individual biopsy.
Each body differs also.
Yeah, it is very difficult to say just because I had that So she told me not to worry, just take the treatment and take it one day at a time. And there will be good days and bad days. But then life is like that, good days and bad days. Take it, keep yourself active. Don't give up anything. Do all the things that you enjoy, not to bother about it, and never think of yourself as a patient. And, you just do it like that. So
Yeah.
since she encouraged me like that initially, I just spoke to her on the phone. I really didn't have a chance to really go down, because here is a person who had taken 84 chemos. Can you believe, in those 6.5?
84. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
I couldn't believe. I didn't even know how many usually people take, and I said 84. My God!
Like
Because
I
over the
have
period,
heard like 6 or 12. उससे ज़्यादा
Yeah,
तो
yeah.
नहीं, it is 84. Oh my God.
because it was an advanced stage, it was already spreading to some other, and she had to keep on repeating.
Yeah.
And actually, I didn't even know she was under treatment when she came for my son's wedding, because she had a nice wig and all that, and she looked so nice. She never told. I didn't know that time. So it's all how you take your cancer. Take it
Yeah.
positive always. There is always the thing that it's never a death sentence. And I was very much inspired. I'll tell you what I wanted to do. So I took it very calm. I had 6 chemos thrice a week, and once in 3 weeks, I mean, for about 5 months. And then I'm on tablets because, I can take those tablets also. So it was, I had all the difficulties of chemotherapy. First of all, the hair fall. And, that is the only thing that makes most women very, very sad. But then I want to tell you, I've kept my hair gray and short deliberately. I want it like that ever since, because to show what's wrong, it looks nice and you don't have to feel, there's something odd. And of course, my son came with a wig and all that, but I didn't want to wear the wig so much. Because initially I wore when I went out. Then the moment my hair grew about an inch, I stopped wearing that. And then I just let it be. And I keep trimming my hair and all that. And for many people, those who lose hair, after the treatment, the hair grows better, thicker, longer. I've seen, because I must tell you, I think about my job. So I was, my doctor was Dr. Anthony Pius. He was the surgeon in Narayana. And also I moved to site care with him to do the work, which is my passion. That is just to do what you're telling me to do. Make patients feel that this is not the end of the world. It's just a pause. It's not a full stop.
Yeah, right.
You do your best, you give your best, you get back the best. That's why I told the story of the person who inspired me. 6.5 years, she traveled so much. She had 2 grandchildren in the meantime, So life goes on. We can die of anything. That is a given fact. But it doesn't mean that we are going to die of this. It could be anything, and it could be an accident. That reminds me of a very, very young girl who I must tell you what my job was. So after I got recovered, I went to Dr. Pius and told him, I want to speak to all the patients to tell them that this is not such a terrifying thing. You can get well and you can lead a normal life.
Right.
So he said, yes, then you will be India's first navigator. You go ahead and speak to everybody, who comes here. So after diagnosis, I would be talking to the whole family, because each one would have some question or the other. Most of all, how long. But everything is variable. What was true for me may not be exactly the same for somebody else. It will be very different, whichever cancer that is, And in Site Care Hospital, there were so many children like you, your brother, you mean, who, 9 years, 10 years, and we used to sit and color with them, we used to paint with them, and, entertain them when they come. Because what can you do with very young, it's very difficult. So because I was so inspired early on, I said that this is what I should do for all the patients, that make them feel all right about the illness and at least start encouraging them to take the treatment and complete the treatment and give their best, you know. So
Yes.
not to, you know, what happened at least 10 years back, most of the people would frighten everybody about chemo. And they say, oh, if you take chemo, this have hair falls and then you have no
The side
appetite.
effects.
All the side effects. So yes, the side effects are there. Nobody is denying it. And it varies from person to person. And it is difficult. That's why some days are very, very difficult. But you will get over it. It's after all, 6 to 8 months or 1 year is just a short period in one's life, no? So you give it your best shot, and then you will have all the, ever since my cancer, I must have gone about 5-6 times abroad, traveled on my own, seen people, and wherever I go, whoever I speak to, I tell them, I tell them I'm a cancer survivor, so I don't feel
ashamed of it.
Ashamed of it. There are people who feel ashamed and there are people who feel guilty. I want to tell every patient never to feel guilty about the illness, because hereditary is only 5% and all the other things, nobody knows whether it was a chemical or whether it was your food or whether it was nobody knows why exactly it came to you.
Right.
So there's no answer to that question which all of us face, that is, why me?
Yeah.
You see, why me? Nobody can really say. I mean, you can give a lot of reasons. It could be that, it could be this. No doctor is going to say, even to a smoker, it was because you smoked. There are so many women who have never smoked who have got lung cancer.
Yes.
So what do you say to that? There are so many women like that I have met, in the course of my meeting people. So there is nothing that or maybe because, and then they feel self-pity that, I did everything. I never ate that. I never ate this. I was very careful. So was I. I used to exercise, kept my weight always normal and, not obese or anything. And I was moderate eater, but I never indulged like that in anything. Really.
Right.
So food also, you cannot say air. It's such a combination of reasons can be the reason. We don't know why.
True. Yes.
So best thing is not to brood over why it's me. And the earlier you can travel from your denial to your acceptance of the whole thing, then you start giving your best to the treatment. That's what I've always felt. From denial to acceptance. It's not an easy journey. It will take a while, but the more easily or the more you accept, you will give your best. He says, I'm going to get over it. I'm made of sterner stuff.
Yeah, the more easy the treatment will be.
Yeah, the more easy the treatment will be. Have faith in your doctor. And don't listen to people who tell you morbid stories. Please discourage them. You don't want that. And don't encourage visitors who come and make you feel bad. You need to be positive, because there's enough in this world, especially with this COVID and all that. It is very, very tough on cancer patients, more tough. So I started this work being a navigator. That is, I used to meet all the women patients, breast cancer mainly, and talk to them post-diagnosis itself and answer all their questions. That was the main thing, to their fears, not the medical aspect, but about
the
side
mental
effects.
aspect.
Yeah, mental, emotional.
Yes.
And, listening to somebody who's gone through and to tell them that these are all the common concerns of most people. You see, children, women who get it pretty young and they have children, small children, they're all genuine fears.
Yeah.
They're genuine fears initially, but the more you think and brood about it, your treatment doesn't have the effect it should have. So you should give your full attention to yourself. I think most women in our country neglect themselves a lot about everything. That's the reason, one of the reasons, you know. And they hide. They don't, they get so scared, they don't tell anybody that there is a lump or there is anything. And the moment, the easiest cure is in the first stage and minimum treatment. The earlier you find out, the better it is. You know?
Yeah.
So people that should realize that those are the some of the things, and not feel guilty that, you know, I did this, I didn't do this, I did that. No. You don't know why you got it really. You just accept and you do your best. Those are the things I would want to tell any cancer patient. I know it's very, very difficult. I've seen patients in all stages, different cancers, everything in both the hospitals, that is Narayana, maybe thousands of cancer patients I would have seen by now. And they're all, everybody feels the same initially, but a lot of them pick up the courage, and we need constant encouragement. We need a lot of family support, you know, and encouragement from the family, you know. Though for me, more than family, it was friends, because I have a lot of friends. They would accompany for the chemo. They would stay back when 2-3 days when nobody was around and things like that.
Yeah, family, and friends are family.
Yeah, friends are family, really. And I can say that support you need. And the people who really put you on the right track and not keep on telling you, don't do this, don't do that. Whatever you feel like doing, just do it. Keep your mind active and physically as far as possible. Don't lie in bed and say, you treat yourself as a patient. You know, that's the last
Don't
thing
think as a patient, right?
Yeah. Not you know, not as a cancer patient. And you have, I mean, whatever activity you were doing, you could pursue it. I mean, maybe first few days, many of the young patients, especially breast cancer, many people get in their 30s and all that. So they were still working. Maybe they'll take 2 days off for chemo and they will be working in between. They might have started working online before the COVID.
Right.
That's what I can. And many of the young men also, you know, who had lung cancer or pancreatic cancer, all those are more serious ones. But they would still be working. So that is one of the best things, so that you keep your mind occupied. If you're a housewife, do your housework as much as you can. And I would tell all children not to fuss too much over them, you know, and that makes them feel they are useless and incapable, which is the, you know, everybody likes to feel useful, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean,
not in a bad way, but in a good way.
Yeah. They should think of, you know, doing whatever they are doing. And they are all, everybody is very concerned about what you eat, what you don't eat. You see, while you're taking chemo, it's next to impossible to eat the normal food. Even your best food, there is not only taste change, there is no taste, and there is altered taste. Like sweet might change into bitter, salt into bitter, and things like that. I would, without salt, I would say it's so full of salt, but they would say, no, we didn't put any salt for your food. I mean, it's like that. So many things. And I was very, very, very sensitive to smell, you know, especially cleaners, you know, Lysol and all these floor cleaners.
So like what would happen? I didn't get
No, I would feel nauseous throughout.
Acha, oh, okay.
I would feel nauseous throughout. And I wouldn't know which smell is going to make me nauseous. By tadka, if they put in the kitchen, it really would want to make me bring out, you know.
Right.
And
like vomit.
Like vomiting. And juices, some juices you get a strange smell. You know, you can't drink. But during chemo, it is good to have a lot of fluids, because you have what you're putting into our body is very toxic. So it is better to flush it out as much as possible. So drink fluids a lot and keep yourself, if you can do some pranayama and yoga will be good. Yoga may not be always possible, but depends on the age. There are a lot of people. My friend Millie, you will be meeting her. I think she's a yoga therapist. So instructor, and she's done so fabulously well for herself after cancer. So most of us have got out of it, and my passion has only been to help others. And all these years I've been just doing that. You know, anybody can just wanting to speak to me can speak to me. They are welcome. And you know, there's small and big doubts. Only the medicines, of course, medicine part we don't talk about it. It is so different for different cancers. Everything changes. Not even comparing, like I took only 6 and why are you taking 12? So when they come to hospital, all these questions that we have to answer to them, you know, because one stage is different. Each one's the whole biopsy you may have nodes.
Everything is different for everyone.
Yeah, everyone. And also, your own body reaction is very different from the other person. There are medicines which may suit me, but there are some medicines which the same medicine may not have the same reaction in another person. So doctors, oncologists, after 2 or 3 and they don't see any improvement, they'll change it. You see, there is a solution for everything. And I think it is breast cancer and most cancers, they've done so much of research that for all the side effects compared to when I had 10 years back, I don't see them suffering half as much. Really.
Yeah, technology like has changed. Modern.
Yeah, they have made the medicines refined. More and more refined, that you don't get all these terrible side effects, you know. And that is the main thing. What else? You can ask me all the questions.
So how has cancer changed your perspective in a positive way?
The cancer has changed that never say die. You always have an opportunity. You have. I mean, my career, I was always I'm a retired professor of English actually. So my cancer came after retirement, and this has been my second profession, and I've enjoyed it thoroughly. And I have no connection of psychology or medicine, but it's just my passion that my surgeon said that you can do wonders. He used to always say, Meera can put a smile on anybody's face.
Wow.
So I always would try that with all my cancer patients. So to a large extent, I would succeed. Because it's being with them and telling them it's okay. Now that you got it, you can get over it. So that would be the thing that I would tell anybody.
And what are 3 life lessons after cancer?
Life lessons, I would say, for one thing, that you should pay some importance and to your own self. I mean, physically, mentally, emotionally.
Yeah.
You know,
self-care, self-love.
Self-care, and especially whether it's food or exercise, we seem to slightest excuse, you know, we'll say, oh, today I won't exercise. Today I won't. I can't do this. I'll postpone it. No, that doesn't help. My lifestyle has changed considerably in the sense I was always exercising and my friends in the hostel used to say, if you tell her to eat grass, she'll eat because she thinks it's good for health. So it's not that, that even though I was quite careful, I'm saying that I became more careful. Not to eat one specific, like people have a sweet tooth, they eat a lot of sweets. And I have not indulged like that, but I had this thing for all snacks and fried stuff. And I still do. I have not given up anything, but I do in moderation.
Yeah, but with limit right?
Yeah, limit. And also exercising. But after I recovered, I think for about 3 months, I didn't go for my walks. Then I started walking 7 kilometers, 5 kilometers.
Wow.
Very brisk walking I was doing. But then again, the COVID, I'm not being able to do that.
Right.
But I do pranayama every day for about 20 to half an hour.
Oh, wow. Great.
So all these things, that's what I said, physically, mentally, emotionally, you start taking care of yourself a little
Yeah,
bit, and it
right.
helps a lot.
Mhm.
And that's why I said avoid friends who come and tell you sob stories. It's fine with
Yeah,
them.
avoid the
And
negativity. Right.
yeah, the negativity. And that's something that you should do. That is the second thing. And on the whole, try as far as possible to make yourself, there's nothing like more happy, nothing makes you more happy than giving something to others. And if you can give confidence and inspiration and positivity to others, it's very satisfying, very, very rewarding also.
Yeah,
So,
true.
as far as possible, whatever the illness, you can always speak to somebody and make them try to make them feel better.
Yes.
That's what I.
And
So
one suggestion or advice who is going through the same cancer, like breast cancer, what it would be? One suggestion or one advice?
No, the suggestion is that you are losing two. One is an organ, the other is a, hair. The two things that women really, two things that make women look and feel feminine. Those are the two things. And those are the two things that are affected. So it is a very painful experience, but I can tell you that your hair grows back, and it's only a matter of time. And your breasts, you can reconstruct. There are doctors who do reconstruction. After 2 years, you can reconstruct. And there are any number of, I'm not wearing any reconstructed stuff, but there are a lot of prostheses which you get.
Yeah.
That nobody will know you. You don't have a breast or something like that. So that is something they should use the prosthesis.
In most cases, the breast, like they don't remove the breast also, no?
Yeah. But I just decided that I would remove it.
Okay. Yeah.
So
No, because I have
choice.
heard that also, like both the cases I've heard.
The thing is, before my cancer, I saw some TV show where somebody had told, some actress had said that she had that lumpectomy, and it was very odd looking. So she said it would be, I would have preferred that the whole thing is gone,
right.
And you can reconstruct the whole thing, or you can wear something inside. There are so many things that you have now. And also for the hair, I mean, in Sidecare, the younger people used to come to take chemo like as if it was a fashion show, because on Amazon, you get such fantastic dresses. They thought we had meetings where they showed you how you can tie your dupatta in different ways. And they were, most of them, as I told you, were working also. So they were, once you cheer yourself up and, begin to care for you in yourself in many ways, physically and emotionally, and, that is what they should do to keep up the spirit. Of course, all the time tell me.
Yeah, you say.
No, all the time you may not feel the same, but you can, I mean, that's life. I mean, whether you have cancer or any other illness or nothing, also pandemic, for example, has made so
any
many,
life problem.
Yeah, psychologically, many things, but you should do your best always to keep your spirits up and do what is necessary and not indulge in any one thing, like where food is concerned or something. Don't become obsessive about things. Eat in limits or controlled way, everything, anything, not excessive of, excessive anything. That's what I have to say.
Now, if you have to sum up your journey in just one line, what it would be?
One line.
Yes.
It was, even though it was initially a difficult journey when I was going through treatment, it opened up my life. It gave me a new profession, and it put me in touch with thousands of people, have 1,000 stories, and every one of them have met me, have blessed me, and they have, how many people's blessings have I got? Thank you so much. Thank you. Even now, you keep getting those
Mhm.
feedbacks often. So it's been a wonderful journey after my cancer. I can say it
Yeah.
was much better than earlier also in my case.
Wow.
Yeah, because you see, I could influence and interact with so many people, you see,
Yes.
on TV, on paper. Initially, papers used to interview me, and they would print, treating people. Especially in the first phase of my thing, which was with in Narayana, the patients were all a mixed people. I used to go to general wards, and you won't believe, Shruti, they didn't know anything about the disease.
Oh
And
my
they are
God.
just puzzled because who will tell them? They are all uneducated, they don't
Yeah.
know. And they, it's very pathetic. Two people I must tell you about. One lady asked me whether it will grow back.
Oh.
Can you imagine? They don't even know that much.
Right.
Another was a very young mother who had two other girls, and the third child, when she was very far away, some Gulbarga or somewhere she was coming from, while she was feeding the third child, she came to know that she had cancer. And she must have been only in her mid-20s, early 20s. And then she used to come for chemo, and I used to go and speak to her and all that. She said, how do you feel now? He said, how did you feel and how are you feeling now that you're taking treatment? She said, in Kannada, of course, she said, madam, but, I also felt very bad. But then I thought, because it is cancer, I won't die immediately. I have some years ahead of me. Because she said, if I walk out of this hospital and cross the road and I had met with an accident, how would that be? Whereas now I have another 3, 4, 5, I don't know how many years I have with my children. I have some time with my children. Can you imagine anything more positive than that?
No.
Really, this happened.
Wow,
So
that
she
is
was so
amazing.
confident. Yeah, and then she got better, much better, and she would come on and off. Then I left the hospital, so we lost touch. But like that, so many people. There are so many people who have even had a recurrence and still working and still being optimistic, because life is always more compelling than anything else, you know. You want to go forward.
Yes.
Yes. So it's been a wonderful journey after the cancer.
Yeah. Okay then. Thank you for your valuable time. I'm sure this session really motivates people out there who have traveled or been traveling through cancer. It was lovely having you here today. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shruti, for including me. It's my pleasure. I love doing this. So
yeah, thank you.
You can. Okay, welcome.